NIP does feel like it's just going to be another day at the office. You know, for them, this roster has had great success in varying ways, different members being a part of different teams. Of course, Lucker being a part of Valorant at some point. Hip, of course, him and his roster coming over to NIP. Of course, Ryan put on some good numbers. But already it's a push in towards the B site. To try to retake that spike.
Quick plant coming out here from the attack. You've got the first kill coming in here as Kriya is going to pick one off. Coming through the backside of the window towards mid. Again, this Suede bug, unfortunate, but it's not Suede versus Suede with all phantoms. It's something that the devs are currently working on. Smart 7 dropped as well by Kriya. Kriya's going to find one more. A dink shot coming out onto Zeddy. Zeddy actually, though, going ham here with the classic, but at this point, it will be NIP taking the pistol despite the molly on the spike, trying to delay.
So one of the things to note, especially if you are new to Valorant, because there's no telling, you know, when it comes to the audience watching how much you do know about Valorant, but when it comes to this specific game, especially if you're coming from PS, first 2 rounds, once you win the pistol, are generally in favor of the one that wins the pistol, but the third is where the attack will finally be able to buy. They'll have rifles, and in some cases, maybe even an operator. Not sure if you're going to want to do that on attack, but it's possible. But without a jet, those possibilities start to really dwindle down for the safety of yourself, getting away from potentially any missed shots. So it is going to be forZe here with the pistol, but they'll have weapons to buy in the following.
Spam coming through on that smoke. 2 going to be picked up there by Lucker. The Sage gunning down a decent portion of the forZe roster as they went for some long C control. Great damage dealt to the Brim as well. The Sage going to have to turn around and pop that heal. But they're playing on the edge of this wall, and it's great work coming in with the Frenzy as the Sage will get one. Lucker there with the immediate trade. Smart 7 going to go down. Lucker still on site, proving to be a bit of a nuisance. It'll come down to Rhyme, though, to close out the final 2. Only 1 kill on the round coming in for forZe.
You kind of expect that, especially on the pistol. You know, they're trying to make it expensive, but it doesn't really end up being that way for them. But this is where the rifles will come online. Haven, of course, one of the very few maps, well, not that we have many maps to work with, but one of the few maps that is actually a little attacker favored when it comes to the win rate percentage on a map like this. So for forZe, their responsibility now is to really start to lay on some of those rounds and get them early, because NIP already have a 2-0 start.
Early peek coming out from Kriya. The breach quickly sending him to the sidelines for the remainder of the round. Kriya went for that aggressive peek up on top of the default boxes. And they're going to fall off that. I like the approach coming in from forZe, understanding that they don't need to overextend that play. They're likely to cause a rotate coming in from NIP. And that's exactly what happened initially. You started to see some resources spent towards that C site to try to support. But it's actually going to be Furov, who's playing up aggressively with just a ghost, taking down Zeddy. Recon Dart going down as well. The Shock Dart looking to do some extra damage, but no. It's a trade out coming in from Comfy the Phoenix. Hip is here on site, spraying away with the Spectre.
Wow.
Make it 2 for him, as Lucker is there with the support as well. It's down to just 1. It's the Sage with the spike over towards short, gun down on the flank.
Okay, that is disgusting. Okay, oh man. They try to funnel in towards the A site, but really it's Furov who does not even decide to buy after the pistol. He stays with the ghost, and he makes it work. 1 headshot's all you need, and that's what he finds there in the sewers. The rest of the team, though, they'll make their way onto the A site, but just great hold from NIP. Hip, of course, able to find 2 there. And at the end of the day, that's all you need. They were able to dwindle down those odds, and it's for forZe now. The pistol, they don't have the economy to buy rifles, and so you may see a little bit of a rush. They're already starting to look towards that A site. And in a round like this, there's almost no reason to be quite silent. You want to try to push in and maybe take away some weapons from the opposition. But so far, so slow for them, and it did look like Coffee, he's got himself a Spectre.
Rhyme using that camera currently on the A site, spying to see what's coming through. A couple of smokes coming down from the Brim. It does look like we're going to see that push come through. There's the Tremor coming out from the breach. Hip getting sprayed at a little bit through the smoke. counter tremor coming out as well from the opposition, but they don't decide to push off this. Despite that early utility use, they're going to be backing off towards short a little bit more, potentially going for even a recommit. The wall was used, as well as some of those breach skills, so it's interesting to see. There's the charge coming in that'll flush him out of position. Lucker hiding inside the flames from Coffee, able to survive long enough to take him out. There's the pistol work coming in from the Brim to take down Hip. But we're at a 3-on-3 currently. Kriya, as he goes down, brings us to that point.
Yeah, you know, for a round like this, they're making it very competitive. Lucker had the operator in his hands, but could not make it sing. A great round for a thrifty round at that. They didn't really have the weaponry there, and they made it work. They got that spike down, and for Nip, the retake was not easy. And we also know that A site, once you get that spike down, all Brimstone needs to do is line up on long, get that molly in the air, and the rest is history. Very difficult to use that spike. You can't really commit. So,
yeah,
good round.
I didn't even hear the spike get planted. Like I wasn't even. I'm watching what's happening so much. I didn't even notice because I just couldn't hear it.
Yeah.
So just a great play coming in from them to at least get the spike plant.
Yeah. Not only get the spike plant, but they got the round too. Lucker buys another op already out of play. Smart 7 going to be the one to take it down. But I like this play for forZe. They get a pick that they need, and then they automatically rotate towards another site. Problem is, C-Long is smoked off. There's strip wires to make sure that nobody flanks around, but already it feels like NIP have so much presence and forZe need to decide where are they going to go. And so far, they're going to likely double back towards this A site.
Cyber Cage on long, and Paula wants to flash past it. Sage actually getting blinded just a bit, going for that peek, seeing if anyone's playing up aggressively. Again, it's the attack here who has the man advantage, and it's a big one as well, as the Sage has been sent to the sidelines. It's a big piece for NIP, and they did have the res available, so they're going to lose that. They still have one ult available. It's the Omen port. Coffee spraying away as the wall comes down in mid, not going to actually spot anything. Kriya sends a dart down. Shouldn't be Kriya, though. That should be Fearoth. Fearoth playing the role of Sova. Smart 7 as the Sage, and Coffee as the Phoenix, playing closer towards mid to make sure that spike doesn't get defused. Breach now moving into position, as is Kriya, who was up on top of the box, the big iron box. Cyber Cage is going to go down, but there's the molly coming out. You've heard players talk about it. Sometimes it's a little bit difficult for them to deal with, as the molly can't be countered appropriately. Coffee from distance taking down Kriya. Rhyme dropping as well on the attempted exit. And there's Zeddy with the pickoff. Great couple of rounds coming in from forZe. The round before, they go ahead and get that spike plant. They back off the site, and then they end up winning the round. Then they also come up with a solid win here, surviving with multiple bodies. That's heavily important to build up that money in the long run.
You know, I have a feeling to kind of touch back on what the analysts were talking about earlier on. How forZe, to some, feels like a team that didn't really deserve to be here. And some of the teams that were saying that aren't really here either. So taking those gun rounds tell us a lot about this team, and that they are capable of dealing with a team like NIP. But they've got ultimates online, so do forZe. We'll see if they end up being in play here. Don't really look like there are a lot of weaponry on the side of NIP, so some of those ultimates might actually come to play, but none of them are really damage dealing other than the Hunter's Fury, so they might actually try to keep those close to their hand and play them quite late.
Scouts down.
Coffee spotting out the Sova in lower mid. Fearoth taken care of quite easily, as the Phantom just overpowers the pistol. Lucker is pushed up aggressively on long C. Should he go for a peek? There's one waiting around the corner, holding this flank. And the peek coming through. The pistol's going to spot them initially. Wall coming out to try and save him. The Brimstone trying to spray away at that ice to get back towards that long C area and take him out of contention. It is a 5-on-3 here. forZe has the two-man advantage.
Seeing Rhyme and Lucker tag team in the garage here. The rest of forZe finally going to commit towards the C side, and they're 5 members strong with weapons online, fences across the board for them. Now they'll start to push in. Site relatively uncontested, and now this is time for NIP to try to make this a very difficult process for them. Lucker already going to find one at the Coffee, which will be a little expensive, but if they can find a couple more, that'll be the ticket for them here. Korea waiting on the opposite side, but it's Smart 7 that's looking for the peak. Slow orb down to try to make sure that the peak is difficult. And Korea that'll actually just back away the rest of the team. Now going to look towards long, but it's Impala, and he's... It's the #1 rule of Valorant. The moment you look away or the moment you reposition, that's when they peak. You cannot land the shot with the out, but it's still their business to try to push in down long.
Lucker trying to move up again on long. You've got Korea here with the Marshals, sending a dark cover down on towards the site. I think he wanted that to go out a little bit deeper to try and get towards the spike. Lucker's going to tap it. And they're coming back to try and take out these players. They went for that sort of ninja defuse of sorts, trying to sneak into the site at the last second. It doesn't quite work out so well for them. They'll survive with 2, but forZe is putting up some serious numbers here against an NIP roster that's really been looked at as potentially a strong favorite for the event. When you look at the teams coming into this one, I wouldn't say they're the best team necessarily, but obviously being assembled more recently with some pieces from the ex-Prodigy guys, you know, when you compare them against everyone else competing, I'd say it's pretty much G2, NIP, and Party Parrots that are in frequent conversation, along with Fish 1, 2, 3 as the top 4 for this event.
Oh, nice little dual peek there. Not able to land the shot there for Lucker. Tries to send another one in, but it looks like the orb control will go over to the side of forZe. The other orb, of course, uncontested. Rhyme playing quite far back on that A side, and that's sometimes what you got to do when you are playing that anchor role. Korea already in the courtyard. Doesn't see anyone there quite yet. On the opposite side, it is the Sage player, Smart 7. Coffee going to lead his team towards the sewers. Korea just trying to find some early picks, and they've quite split up here on the side of forZe. He won't find anyone for quite a while, but already this aggressive push forward might net him a frag. Unfortunately, going to be the rotate around here for Impala. They'll get that red carpet rolled out, trying to stop this push towards the A side. Korea manages to find himself behind enemy lines, and a quick kill will be great here for Nip.
Unfortunately, Korea gambled the wrong direction. So Korea actually went towards the A site, fakes the ult though, goes for the intel ult, and actually drops one more from inside the window. So a great move coming in, but he had ulted over towards the A site. There was only 2 players going there. It was a solid fake coming in from forZe, but it didn't pan out well on the numbers. The players falling on both C and A, so they lost one on each side of that fake. That's why you've got the Phoenix coming in with the backstab through the B site. There's the ult coming in, the orbital strike, to try and section them off and try and prevent that defuse from coming through. And oh, Coffee's got the god tier flank. All he has to do is get there in time. He's having a hard time getting into the site, and it's a little bit too late. So the spike will be defused here as the wall comes in. Korea gonna find 4 on the round. With just 8 seconds left on the defuse, another one goes up on the board here for NIP.
I like their adaptation. Usually when you plant for long on C site, it's very difficult to retake, you know, whether you put smoke down or not. They can just still spray through and make sure that that spike just gets used. But for Lucker, throws down the wall, and I think that was a pretty good use of it. We've seen some European stages before. Particularly Happy, he'll self-boost and play aggressively in mid, regardless of the map it is. But great use from the wall there, and that'll... I mean, that won't net them the round. That won't be the deciding factor, but it was a great way to stop any further attempt from the Brimstone. Operator here, gonna land it onto Impala. And I believe that is their own operator down in play. Not quite sure by that gun in the distance. The other members are held up in the cubby, and Lucker, he knows this.
Hip waiting right around the corner. There's a Phoenix already on this B site. Timing gonna work out nicely for Coffee. Hip did not anticipate this player already being all the way up on B. Lucker tries to go aggro down C long. Doesn't work out so well for him either. They've completely lost the C site. This should be a save coming in from the remaining 2 players. You've got Furoth here with the Al drone, but they've lost so much site control, and his teammate is so far away. It is only a 2-on-3. But it's going to be a difficult retake. Nice shock dart coming in, spam coming out. They know where Furoth's at based on the Al drone, and you can already see him backing off a bit, realizing that this is going to be a difficult take. Rhyme coming through on the flank over towards Long. Nice shot coming out. Despite taking down the tripwire, the Sage caught off guard. The wall is down on Garage. fearoth almost gets the timing right to gun down one while spraying through that ice. Shock Dart going out high into the sky. Recon Dart is there as well. The Recon giving away the position of the remaining two. It's down to a one-on-one though. It's Zeddy versus fearoth. fearoth can't really do much as the Molly is down on the spike. Breach charge coming through as well. The one-on-one gonna go the way of Zeddy. forZe continue to put up rounds here on the attack.
Quite close there, went down to the last and final player, but unfortunately for forZe, they'll come out on top. It was close, and I think for Zeddy there, you were pretty much good to just not really peek the angle if you didn't really want to. There was the Molotov there, the Aftershock as well to follow up to make sure that nothing was being used, and another great round for the side of forZe, still keeping it competitive. On the opposite side, though, for NiP, they're really struggling on this first half, and you see the weaponry now start to come in being quite difficult for them. Sheriffs, and potentially some ghosts across the board. Might be a little bit of an expensive round as already 2 members have fallen from the side of forZe. Let's see if this translates to a win for NiP.
Nice start to the round for NIP. Kriya on Long. Oh, the timing is going to get the best of him. No, never mind. Kriya somehow beats Zeddy in the one-on-one exchange. Additional damage dealt to the Sova as well. Has to be careful as the flash comes out. Paranoia so powerful, but at the same point in time took some additional damage on the peak. Kriya now wants to challenge that Sage as the heal comes through from his own Sage, putting him back on full HP, and you can see why. Kriya, God tier currently as he gets the 4K on the round. Solid defense coming in on the thrifty round for NIP.
And they pick up an operator here for Kriya, likely going to drop that over to Lucker. He's the anchor towards that C site. He'll even occasionally self-boost, but looks like he's going to be looking towards the A site this time around. Rhyme going to be setting up the standard utility. Usually he's been the anchor for that A site, but so interesting to see some of that utility go towards mid. Might be the read here to see, okay, will forZe push through mid? We've seen the C push time and time again. Looks like it might be something a little different, and so let's adapt and let's get some of that utility towards the court.
fearoth leads the charge with the Owl Drone. Kriya, no surprise there, getting aggressive with the port, getting up on top of the box. fearoth gonna get 2 on the round. The round's falling apart quite quickly here for forZe. As the remaining 2 members, the Sage and the Cypher, trying to scramble it back together. There will be a kill coming out on Kriya, who again was overextending that position behind that box, wanting to take more of a battle. A res coming in from Smart 7, bringing the Phoenix back into play. Impala's actually going to pick off one more. This has turned around quite nicely. The Neural Theft going out from Impala to give away positions of the remaining members. Seeing now that there's basically one on each side of the map means that they kind of have carte blanche. Wherever they decide to go, they're going to have a 3-on-1.
Will beat the A site, pushing towards the sewers, the name of the game. Run it back gives us the audio cue that we need. Coffee can be leading that charge, and it's the early peak that does not go the way for fearoth, but he's going to be waiting on the other side. That's going to be one, does not find the second. It is, of course, clone that dissipates all down to fearoth. Lucker here. One is going to be good, but the other will not. Lucker now, the Sheriff in a dream. Kriya as well will actually follow suit. That spike going down in a place that I've not seen it often planted. Coffee will find that frag onto Lucker, and fortunately for Kriya, he's got a tall task ahead of him. 2 down long, and they're peeking together. Shot's good from Coffee. And another round on the board here for forZe. I have a feeling this might go 6-6, at least to kick us off. And then once NiP get their hands on the attacker side, we might see that start to accelerate a little bit more.
That is a disappointing round for NIP. They started with the aggression towards mid. They took out 3, and they had a 4-on-2. And then it turns around into a 3-on-3 somehow. Actually, they had a 5-on-2. Kriya dies. Then it becomes a 4-on-2. Then it becomes a 3-on-3 as their Cypher just went kind of nuts and picked up multiple kills on the round. And then it's a 2-on-2 post plan. The round just did not go the way it should have. Now the Cyber Cage is going to go down on Long. Hip is right around the corner. An aggressive play, absolutely punished. But look at what Kriya is doing, lurking on the back lines. There's the first one coming in for the Omen, but only one somehow. Just couldn't quite get the positioning or the timing right. It will at least be fearoth who spots one on the cross with the operator. Smart 7, the Sage, sent away for the remainder of the round. So it's back to a 3-on-3. Numbers are even, but an awkward set of exchanges early on in the round.
You know, forZe's win condition here is to get that spike down at all possible costs. You know, they have the orbital strike, they have the Molotov to make it a very difficult defuse. So they just need to get that spike down. Unfortunately, the A site will not be where they should head on over. So they're still a little undecided. Of course, there's a lot of bodies on the floor. They don't want to give the weapons potentially back over towards the defense. And so kind of sticking around, getting a little bit more information before they decide to journey on over towards the B side. And to be quite honest, that's probably their best bet right now. You set up a good spike plan, and then it's very difficult for the opposition to defuse. So we're already seeing the smokes come through. That'll stop the sight line from the operator, but you don't need a sight line when you're forZe. Shot through the smoke, manages to find itself on the coffee. One more for the money on Lucker. It's all down to Pullian now as that spike jetlining towards the C side. Has to get a face full of tripwire before he makes his way over, but he's got 80 seconds left, and now here comes Nip for the retake.
Yeah, goes for the deady on the spike plan as well. Pretty much had to, couldn't pull off at that point. forZe pops the Hunter's Fury. Good call, taking down the spike just after he plants it. He takes down that spike planter. So a round coming in for NIP towards the tail end of this first half, giving them that 1-round advantage. Kind of curious to see what the credits are going to look like right now for forZe. It should be a full buy. No, it's kind of awkward. You can see they don't really have the greatest economy. Wasn't really sure where they were sitting at because of this back and forth nature. I thought the spike plant might bump them up just enough, but it's not quite where it needs to be. So you've got the Phantom light armor for Coffee and a Guardian for Zeddy. The rest of the team can buy, so that's okay, but you wonder, what are the abilities looking like currently coming in for the attack?
At the end of the day, this is the last round. Of course, the Jiggle Peak's not going to work out here for Pullian. Now, as they set up the utility, they need to deal with Korea, and they will do so. It is, of course, the Breach player that gets taken down a little bit. Heal going to come out from the stage. Coffee pushed up aggressively towards the garage, ready for the flank from the rest of the team down long. It's going to be the curveball as Rhyme is able to escape. The red carpet's rolled out for the team as they'll now start to make their way through the slow orb, but they have a fault line of their own. Coffee is going to find one. He's going to find two. All pushing through the garage. This looked like Nip was able to try to get this round back into their favor, but now it's just down to forZe. He finds the frag on Tumpala, still the 1v2, very doable here for him. Slow Orb's going to slow down the push forward towards the site. It's run it back now. Used by Coffee. The wall as well, the curveball. forZe in a very difficult spot. Manages to land the shot now. Going to be jumping up the flat. Doesn't know that Smart 7's around the corner. And as I said, 2 rounds to go, 6-6 the scoreline in the first half.
I really like the way that they played that in the end, using that run it back to just kind of bring that fight straight to the Sova, forZe, who had that operator. They knew the position, but he also knew the position of both of them. He sent out that recon dart and spotted both. Now, there is a bug in the second half that Riot is currently working on and they're aware of regarding the scoreboard. It happens from time to time. Hopefully, we won't have it too often, but it results in only one player being displayed on the scoreboard in the second half. So if you're asking for a scoreboard or wanting to see the buy, it's not that we don't want to show that to you. It's just that it currently it's bugged. Hopefully it'll be fixed pretty quickly. But tied up 6-6 coming into this second half. Surprising strong performance coming out from forZe against NIP. We'll see if they can do just as well on the defense as NIP moves on over to the attack.
One of the things I'm super excited about when it comes to NIP, we haven't really talked too much about their agent selection, is that they've got double flash. I mean, of course, so does forZe, but they've got Omen, and they have Breach, which I think is probably a better combination than the opposite with Phoenix and Breach themselves. Omen, of course, has smokes, and so they actually have to have a Brimstone in order to have those smokes. And Paula trying to find that flank from behind, but they'll still have control of that C-side. Paranoia not going to land on Smart 7, and as a result, he will try to punish forZe, but instead will get taken down with his life instead. Coffee, the last one standing. And he'll get that spike down. A great round here for Nip. So far, no one's untouched.
There's the fight coming out as well towards the end. Kriya's going to find 3. No surprise there. Strong performance coming in from him on the first half, and he continues here in the pistol. NIP went a flawless pistol round to try and propel their attacker's side forward just a bit. We'll see how forZe decides to respond. Now, one thing that we had kind of heard spoken about in that pregame was the juggling of character roles for people who play the operator role. We've seen agent selections range from Sage to Sova to Jett, which has become more and more common, especially in North America, for that aggressive play. And we saw how it worked out well for some teams, most specifically Cloud9 in the Pulse Invitational, with TenZ getting aggro with the Judge. But no Jett here. So none of that aggressive play going to be coming out. Instead, they've gone for a Phalanx in mid. So multiple players setting up a line of defense with just classics, hoping that someone would be brave enough to peek mid. It's not going to be the case, as they've taken towards the C site and realized, okay, this is free and clear, which as a result initiates a push down mid coming in from forZe. So they're going to be flanking with classics, but they're just going to be a little bit too late getting into position. Kriya might be able to spot out the Cypher on the site. He does. Good shotgun damage being dealt initially, but not enough to take him out. Now Rhyme hears those footsteps potentially coming his direction. There's the first, the second. Does he find one more? There's two in that direction. Gonna go for the Cyber Cage to buy some time.
Yeah, they're gonna just try to weed him out with the utility. He's gonna held right here in the Cyber Cage. If though, he's going to try to find safety there for the Cypher, but pretty much standard round here for NIP. Of course, forZe, they tried to set up in the middle there. They didn't really have the economy with pistols, but this is where they'll finally have the weaponry. But really the name of the game on a map like Haven, with it being so attacker-friendly, what is forZe going to be able to do to stop some of these pushes from NIP, and how are they going to react to the way that they execute on sites? That's going to be the name of the game here for this second half. Looks like a setup towards C once again, but it could be a fake as the rest of the team is kind of a little bit more spread out. But a standard garage push seems to be a standard push on attack. We'll see if that's going to end up being the case here for NIP on round number 3 of the second half.
Coffee on top of the big box over in B. Spots them out initially. They used the Sage wall to boost on the backside of the box, which allowed him to get up there. The Sage was here as well, playing that headshot angle. That means that this B-side defense could be a whole lot weaker now as a result, because they're not going to have that wall to try and slow things down. There's the flash coming in from Breach. Blinds the Owl drone, but the dart's been delivered. Hip in that one-on-one against Coffee, gonna win the battle. Smart 7 across the map, taking down Lucker. Rhyme's gonna peek, and the trade comes through for the attack. Kriya's backside sight. Nice paranoia, but it doesn't make a difference as the blind kill comes through from Zeddy. Rhyme again there with another one on that A site, or the B site, excuse me. And as a result, the A site is now open. Taking that kill towards the A side connector will give them the ability to plant that spike over on the A bomb site. You've got the Brim flanking through mid, and the Breach all the way back in spawn. High shock darts coming out here from Fearoff.
Yeah, very interesting to see their plants not go towards the side of default where you have the ability to play long. We've seen that plant not once, but this is the second time now. Zeddy and Kolyan now having to have the duty of pushing forward. It's going to be unfortunate for Rhyme, as I think he switches the camera there. The shock darts now starting to come down from the sky. And it's just going to be forZe that win the gun round, and quite honestly, a very important round for them to win. If NIP were able to kind of win this one over and find their way through, it would have been devastating for the forZe economy, and a lot of rounds would have started to lay on. But they're keeping it close. They're keeping it close. And now for NIP, they will likely have some weaponry to play of their own, but it's an op here for Lucker that's going to be very devastating on Halo.
That was actually a huge read coming in from the Brim. So seeing that camera getting hit with the dart, instantly peeking, anticipating maybe that close play coming out from the Cypher. You talked about it, switching off the cam, just didn't have a chance to actually even take that fight as he was pulling out of that camera. So well read to force things down to a 2-on-1. And then the Sage the Sova, excuse me, just kind of in an awkward position. Fearoff was not prepared for that push coming through the fault line, slowing them down as they made their approach towards the site. The buy will still come in here from NIP, and they still got the lead by 1 round. We'll see how forZe decides to play defense this time around. The B site last time felt a little bit porous as it went back and forth with the exchanges, resulting in a loss of the site, but some duels kind of working out for the better, despite the fact that skills like Paranoia had actually blinded Zeddy, ended up getting a blind kill on the Kriya backside site. Now this time around, Coffee's going to go for the jump swing, and Lucker hits a beautiful shot with the operator. That's the C site lost. We'll see how they decide to react to this. The Omen already moving all the way up into the backside of site. That's Kriya double porting to get box control. He's He's spraying away towards these players in spawn, but needs some help now as they're going to start spamming that box looking for him. Flash coming out to blind, but they've got sight control, so they're going to go ahead and stick that plant in just a second.
And you know, for forZe, they still have some of the weaponry from the previous round, so for them to lose this round is going to be a little tricky. Already down to 2 now. Impala going to lead his team alongside Smart7. They'll likely just save the weaponry, but Rhyme's in a great position to catch this.
Headshot.
Lines up the headshot. All down to Smart7 now. He's got himself a Phantom. But they're going to start to hunt him down. They smell that there's blood in the water, and the shark fins are out ready to find this last stage player. Swings around the corner. We'll find Hip. That's a good start. There's still 4 more members now trying to hunt you down. Camera going to be taken down, and Smart7, he's got to run. He's got to hide, and got to make sure that he survives. I like this little cheeky play. Drops down, but Rhyme will just take him out all on his own.
Yeah, that also dealt additional damage on the fall. He was trying to play like on the edge. It's something you can kind of get away with. You can stand on a ledge far enough, I think, to the left that they can't see you. You'll see that on Ascent when you're playing lane defense on B. You can kind of sit on that lane half wall right where by the boxes in sight and shift to the left so that they couldn't see you peeking from B main. It's kind of you're like kind of like hanging on. It's not necessarily like a pixel boost like you'd see as something in Counter-Strike, but it's very close where you're actually kind of like off the edge just a bit. Nice paranoia over towards the C site early. That's going to confuse this defensive side that was looking to maybe play aggressive on long C. They're going to continue that push, but it did delay things just a bit. You've got the Cypher pushed up in short just in case they do decide to move up into that territory. But this is very similar to what we saw in the second round coming in from forZe. 4 bodies grouping up. One has actually peeled off the play. That's Phoenix. So they've only got 3 pushing through on long C, but they saw that tripwire get destroyed, so they know there's players coming through. So they're now currently on the hunt looking for these pistols. The first one will go down. Do they anticipate a follow-up? They seem to. But as Rhyme goes for the peek, wasn't necessarily anticipating 2 targets to his right. Luckily, Fearoth is there for the trade, as is Kriya picking off Coffee. It'll come down to 1. It's the Cypher Impala all the way back in towards spawn.
You know, normally I'd say don't bring a gold strat to a silver fight, but I like the attempt there from forZe, trying to make things a little expensive. They were able to get 1, and so at least they were able to get that. Rhyme having to now go back and find himself a new weapon, but it's that type of play that sometimes can work out and sometimes cannot. Inside of forZe, they were only able to get 1. But now they will likely have the weapon nearby. But things are starting to get a little bit more scarier for forZe. It's 10-7, 2 rounds till match point here for NIP. And like I said before, once we got to that attacker side, NIP, I feel like, really have started to come alive. Of course, yes, forZe were able to win 1 round, but NIP have really just been able to win every one after that. And so an early push towards A. Impala will pay with his life, and that A site is completely undefended. We'll see how NIP starts pushing Coffee with the early rotate, but the neural theft will spot him out early. Still going to force him way into position and try to defend from this push forward. It's the hot hands that'll stop that push there. Peek around the corner onto Rhyme will go his way. Now run it back to make things just even more expensive. The slow orb is good. Shot onto Kriya. And Coffee defending this site with his life.
That was absolutely insane. The quick shot coming out from the Phoenix. The ult being popped as well. The orbital strike. That allows them to escape. Even though that was a defensive ult. So that could have been the Phoenix continuing to punish, taking down that player on the res. Bit of a mistake there made by forZe. The early mistake was that peek coming in from the Cypher off the cam shot. Wasn't prepared for the amount of targets waiting around the corner, just got overwhelmed. So that early operator purchase for forZe doesn't work out so well. They've managed to turn things around because of Coffee's ult. He picked up 2, but the res came in from the Sage. Smart7 waiting right around the corner. Might get the timing right. First one, second one, make it 3 on the round for Smart7. Kriya's the only one left standing as he ports up into his own smoke. The dark cover on top of the boxes. With 16 seconds left, has to go back to try and gather up the spike. Goes for a port, might try to fake them out just a bit with just 7 seconds left. Starts to push forward. 1 kill for him onto the Phoenix, at least a punish for the early battle that went the opposite direction. But it will be the round for forZe.
They're keeping it close. They're keeping their dreams alive. Of course, this is a best of 3, so even if forZe do end up on the receiving end of a victory from NIP, they have the ability to go over to Bind. But fuck, let I remind you, this is forZe's map pick. So if they do not win their map pick, we go to Bind, which is a little bit more even, and I have a feeling NIP will show us what they're made of on that map. They did so against G2 in the Vitality Open. So we'll see how this map ends up finishing up. Zeddy having an angle here with the operator. The jiggle peek is not going to go his way. He's not able to land that shot. Lucker, though, will find him instead, and they'll just open their way onto that C site. Down to 3 now. Still Impala holding down that A site in case anyone gets an early rotate. Coffee's already down. Smart 7's already down. And this looks like a round for the books for NIP.
Yeah, and this should be a punishing economic round as well for forZe. Yet again, that operator does not net them success early on. The same thing happened on the A site last round, except they were able to turn things around because of the run it back ult that was popped by the Phoenix. But here we see them again take that early fight, and Lucker just so strong with the operator, getting 2 kills on the opening. fearoth finding 2 more, securing the site completely. The last remaining player, Impala, all the way over on the A site, just trying to save that gun. Now, it doesn't look like NIP has any desire to go for the hunt as a result of the last round being a little bit expensive for them as well. So at least that'll guarantee him the time to save that rifle. But it will be number 11 going on the board for NIP. They're just a few rounds away from closing out the first map.
Once this map closes up, it will, of course, be Bind. If we do end up going to split, I'd love to see what some of the European teams have developed when it comes to strategy so far. Haven and Bind, of course. Bind being probably the most played map, especially when it comes to best of ones, but we are not in that situation. And I actually think, Bach, I'd love to know if we are in the double overtime space. I know it's been a little bit of a bug. I wonder if we've been able to figure that bug out, or if there's been some changes to that, because that would be cool. That would be, if forZe have the ability to take this to OT and then it's won by 2, they might actually have an opportunity to swing things back in their favor if they play it round by round.
Well, I know that during the qualifier that was a thing, as I believe it was Needmore DM who beat Giants in the top 16 in an overtime game, and they won 14-12. So I can only assume that we'll use it here as well. Rhyme winning that early battle against Zeddy. Coffee gets aggressive, but there's just targets on both sides. Didn't matter which direction he peeks, he's going to get traded out. Smart 7 going for the res onto Zeddy to try and even things out just a little bit, but as they do, Korea picks one off over on the C site. C site's been completely lost. Spike is starting to move in that direction. The defense also heading that way. That's a tough blow on the round. All 3 players were over on the A site.
You know, part of how I feel NIP has been playing, and really what has been their success, is in some cases really just out-dueling their opposition. We've seen time and time again how forZe, they've got an angle towards C-Long, NIP peaks C-Long, they win the battle, and they get an entry onto C. If that happens consistently on attack, you have to ask yourself, well, what can we do to stop that? Can we smoke? Can we set some utility with, we've got a Sage, of course, we can get a wall up, we can get the slow orb up. There's a lot we can do to stop that, but if you're, constantly dying in these peaks, like, you're holding the angle and they peak and you lose that peak. So in some cases I feel like it's just raw gun skill for NIP that they're able to come out over forZe here.
So another round goes the way of NIP. They're now on match point, trying to close out the first map of this series. It started out really nicely for forZe. They really looked good in that first half, but in the second half, they've struggled, and a lot of that's been off those early one-on-ones with the operator. We've seen it a couple times. It happened on Long A. It happened over on C as well with the Long C battle. They've gone for, like, say, some jump peaks, jiggle peaks, even op-on-op fights, and it's almost always gone the direction of NIP. They just don't seem to have a solution for Lucker on the attack, and that's been a big problem for them.
Match point here for NIP. Then they're going to start it with a push towards A, but finally a peek goes well for forZe Impala. Going to find Lucker, and a crucial frag to find as well. Some of those heals and utility to help in the post plant now gone. The Owl drone now used to scout out some early push through the sewers, but it's quickly dealt with, and so that push is halted. Coffee going to be the first line of attack, the first contact point on the site. It does look like NIP are going to start to double back. They've got agents a little bit spread out towards the attacker halls. Kriya and Firoth now starting to work their way towards the C site. With that ult orb picked up, I believe Kriya already had his ultimate available. I think it is now Firoth that joins him with the Hunter's Fury. We'll see if it ends up used in this potential final round.
Firoth sending that recon dart towards the C site. There's two players there. It's the Brim and the Breach, but they might be actually in front of this one. Kriya just wants to peek. Can't blame him. Kriya's made that play so many times. Firoth and Rhyme both getting kills on the round, as it looks like they're going to send that spike over towards the A site. Surprise, surprise. Yeah, they had presence towards C, but the A site now realizing it's clear, they'll go ahead and stick that spike. It's going to be a 3-on-3. The Cypher ult is available, the Neural Theft, and on the opposite side, they've got the Hunter's Fury. So if they can mark that spike, they can just send some pulses downrange. They do have the Breach on site. The Cypher trying to use that camera to spot them as they come through. I like that move. That allows Hip to get into the close corner. Flashpoint coming through from the Breach. Impala will find the first. The spray down not going to work out so well, and it's all up to Firoth as the Sova. The shock dart coming through. Recon dart coming out as well. Trying to take that initial battle. Now it's down to a one-on-one. The spike being sucked. No, never mind. He pulls off. He knows he's got the Hunter's Fury. Wants to back off from the fight. Goes for the repeat towards the site. The spike again tapped. And there's the shot coming in from Firoth. 3 on the round for the Sova as they pick things up 13-8.
And that's a pretty good scoreline. Like I said,